problems you were facing in the intelligence services?
At a point, yes, a decision was made that we should see the president.
The issues which gave rise to the problems, are they issues that you may be able to tell me about, or are they the types of issues that preferably you shouldn't tell me about because of intelligence?
I think it's issues that I can declare.
Yes, yeah, please tell me, give me an idea what those issues were.
I think basically it were administrative issues where minister will sit on submissions for long periods of time. Issues of personal relations, I think we're starting to develop as well. And I think the issues of him wanting to take part in the work that we were supposed to be doing.
They related to administrative and operational issues.
That is correct.
And in part they related to him wanting to get involved in operational issues which you believed should be left to you.
That is correct, Chair.
Is that right? And that caused some tension.
It did cause frictions and tension, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Did you come to know during 2010 of an investigation or proposed investigation into the activities of the Gupta family?
That is correct.
How did you come to know of that? Was it something that was happening within your department, as it were?
It was happening in my department, and it was also happening from the foreign branch point of view.
Right. And did you receive information from your operatives in relation to this investigation?
That is correct.
Well, do you want to tell me what information precisely you were informed of that gave rise to the idea that there should be an investigation?
Yes, Chair. There had been what is called an information exchange between our service and foreign services, where they were inquiring and asking for assistance from us with regards to certain issues that gave rise for concern to them.
Is that uranium mine, the uranium mine?
That is one of them, yes. And of course, our protocol allows that we do those exchanges, and that was going on. When I arrived in 2009, there were already some those investigations were going on. So at the point where Advocate Pretorius is inquiring, it was a report back from structures about work that they were doing with regards to those investigations.
Also, so the investigation, when you arrived in the department, there was already an investigation that was ongoing.
Correct, Chair.
But as far as you know, at that time, the minister was unaware of the investigation. At that time when you arrived, when you got to know about it, were you told that he was not aware?
I do not think that he was aware, Chair.
You do not think he was aware?
I do not think so, Chair.
Yes. And at a certain stage, you thought it was necessary that, oh no, I think from what Mr. Sheikh said, it wasn't your decision that he should know. He called you, but that comes later.
Chair, the fact of the matter is, the minister heard from somebody who was at the meeting that the issue was raised and discussed.
Yes, yes, no. It's just that earlier on I was thinking whether, having arrived in the department and found this investigation going on, and being of the view that he was unaware, I was thinking whether you might have decided that he should know. But then I remembered that in terms of Mr. Sheikh's evidence, it doesn't look like you decided that he should know, but he got wind of it and then called you.
Chair, remember, these are two independent structures. I run my management, and the Ambassador Chair was running his management.
The foreign
branch. I'm running the domestic.
Domestic, yes.
So although we did exchange information at the top,
yes.
At the level of operations, we were running independent operations.
Oh, okay. All right. Mr. Pretorius, I interrupted.
Yes, as I understand your evidence and that of Mr. Sheikh, there was a meeting to discuss this investigation.
That is correct.
Ambassador Makatuka was there, you were there, and Sheikh was there, amongst others.
That's correct.
And do I understand your evidence correctly that someone from that meeting informed the Minister of the investigation? That's your supposition?
From our meeting, the one that I'm saying the domestic branch had, the management meeting, there was a report that we received that the investigation is at this point and it's going on. From my own team, somebody went to talk to the minister to say that there is an investigation of this nature.
And
so
then
it gave rise then to the meeting that we had with the minister.
With the three colleagues?
That is correct.
And that's the meeting to which Mr. Sheikh referred. You were here when he did that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And subsequent to that, I understand there was a meeting with Minister Twele at the minister's instance.
That is correct, sir.
Before we get there, did you receive reports or did you hear what Minister Twele was saying about your involvement in the investigation and why the investigation was allegedly taking place under your command?
Yes, I did hear.
What was he saying?
I heard he was saying that I have got personal interests that are conflicting to those of the Gupta family, and these were business related. I think at the meeting that we had, I tried to establish from him where he got this and what evidence he had, if he could provide me with that, because he was making my work to be difficult, especially because he started off by talking not directly to me, never came to me, never called me in and said, but I understand there is this situation, we are conflicted, and therefore that whatever maybe you should be doing, whether you recuse or whatever, nothing of the sort happened.
Well, that's quite important. It appears that from what you say, prior to the meeting to which Mr. Sheikh has testified and you will testify in a moment, you say that the minister never approached you to raise any issue about conflicting business interests in relation to the Gupta investigation.
No, Chair.
Did anyone else raise the issue with you?
No, Chair, other than just the rumor that was just taking rounds.
What is the true position? Were there any business interests you held in competition or in conflict with the Gupta business interests?
I have got no clue. I don't know what other business interests they were doing. I mean, what other businesses they were involved in. But I was not involved in any business when I was working for the state. All my business interests, I had to cease operating, and therefore that I did not have anything that was active. I was not actively involved in business.
Well, I understand it would be difficult for you to speculate, but has anyone since then ever pointed out to you that this business interest or that business interest might be what was termed as the conflicting business interest?
No, Not even the president raised that at the meeting that Mr. Sheikh referred to.
From your point of view, Director, what was the reason for the intelligence service to investigate the Gupta family?
There were many disturbing things that were happening at the time, especially in the circles, in political circles, where people were talking about the influence of the family on our president. And that concerned us greatly. The association of the president's children with the family was also a matter of grave concern to intelligence.
Any other reason?
The other reasons were that they should not put our country at jeopardy in terms of dealing with rogue elements, in terms of businesses that they were running using natural resources of the country.
All right. You've heard the evidence of Mr. Sheikh in relation to two meetings. In your statement, you deal in some detail with the latter meeting with the former president. But in relation to the meeting with Mr. Cwele, do you agree with the recollections of Mr. Sheikh? Do you have any other recollections or any different recollections?
I do recall, Chair, that it was the first time that he was raising the issue of my personal interests directly in my presence, directly with me. Of course, talking to all of us at the same time. I think that did not sound good to me, and I reacted to that. I said, but I mean, if you're a minister, I think you should be doing better than this. You're the minister, you're responsible here. If you have got issues, why don't you raise them properly? We've got regulations, we've got policies, we've got everything in place which you can use as your instruments for your oversight on us. Why is it that you are deciding to deal with the matter in the manner? So I was not happy, personally.
Well, I don't know if my recollection is correct, but I think Mr. Sheikh may have said something along the lines that he had never seen you so unhappy or angry. I'm not sure what I can't remember, but I got the impression that he felt that you were very extremely unhappy, to say the least, but maybe even angry, I'm not sure, at hearing this accusation being leveled against you. Would that be a fair reflection?
I think so, Chair, because I felt like being personally assaulted at the time that this was happening. And the fact that he could not show me any piece of thing to say, this is what I'm talking about.
And did he give details such as, you are involved in this business or this business, you have an interest in this company or this company, this is what this company does. The Guptas have got this company which does the same. These two or whatever companies are competing. That's the conflict of interest I'm talking about. Did you give details such as those?
There was nothing of that nature, Chair. There was no illustration of any sort to say, this is why I'm saying you have got this. And you see, I had not even applied for the job of coming through in 2009. He approached me to say that I must join, and he knew what I was doing, that I was in business. And as I came in, I declared those interests to say this is what I'm involved in, and resigned in all of those interests that would cause anyone to say there's a conflict of interest.
Yes.
We'll come back to that sequence of events. Your statement is constructed on the basis of a timeline, and I'd like to deal with the incident that you referred to in paragraph 17. You received a call from a long-time friend of yours. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Who was that?
It is Mr. Archie
I'm sorry,
Luhlabo.
Mr. Pretorius. Were you saying you will come back to the issue of that meeting, or are you done with that meeting?
The meeting with the president,
No,
I'll
no,
come back to,
with
but I've
the
done
minister.
with the Quilla meeting.
With the Kwele meeting, okay. Now, did Minister Kwele say that the investigation must be stopped in express terms?
I think what was coming out of the meeting here with Minister Kwele was that, in effect, we will be investigating the president if we continue with this investigation, and therefore that he did not think that it was proper that we should be investigating the president. Our point was simple, that no, we're not investigating the president. We are trying to help the president from this relationship here. And the more we know about what is going on, the better we are to advise the executives as to what they should be doing with this family.
As I understand the position from Mr. Sheikh's evidence, there was a concern expressed that it could be that the funding, if I'm not mistaken, for the Shiva uranium was obtained from the Iranians.
Yes.
Iranians, and what was sought to be investigated was whether there was truth to that. There might have been much more to be investigated than just that, but that was part of it. Is that right?
That is correct, Chair.
Yes. Are you able to say whether there was something else other than that you wanted to, that was being investigated?
Chair, what I can say in addition is that it was not only the Guptas that were falling in that type of investigation.
Yes.
There were other investigations that were being carried out.
Yes.
And they also affected people like from India and Pakistan.
Yes, yes.
And there were court cases that followed those
Yes.
investigations,
Yes.
where some of South Africa's technology was being sold illegally to some of those countries.
But as far as the Guptas were concerned, particularly with regard to Shiva uranium, was that the main thing that was to be investigated?
No, more than that, Chair.
It was more than that.
Yes.
Did it include the question of what influence the Guptas had on the family?
That is correct, Chair.
That is correct.
That included that.
Is that what Minister Kwele was talking about when he said you would be investigating the president if you continue with this investigation? In other words, because the investigation included what influence the Guptas had on him. As you understood him, what was your understanding of what he was saying?
At the time, Chair, I think I took it at face value that he meant if we dig more in this, into these people, we may find something on the president. But I did not link it to issues of the people trying to unseat the president and all of those.
Yes. But well, you have confirmed that part of what the investigation was to look at was what influence or what level of influence the Gupta family had on the president. Is that right?
That is correct, Chair.
Yes.
I may add that
Yes.
it was an assumption on our part as well that it's possible that they are just employees of another intelligence agency, and the aim, of course, is to influence the president.
Okay, yes. So that was the angle from which you were coming.
We're looking at all angles.
At all angles, but that was one.
Including that, yes.
Yes. Okay, but you say that when Minister Kwele said, if you continue with this investigation, in effect you will be investigating the president, or it will be like you are investigating the president.
That is
you
correct.
say your understanding was that he was saying, if you investigate, you might come across things that relate to the president, maybe that you should not, as far as the president is concerned, or as far as he was concerned, he thought you should not go to.
That is correct, Chair.
Yes. Did he, and he expressed a view that was against continuing with the investigation?
He did.
Yes.
He did, Chair.
Are you able to tell me how he expressed his views in this regard? Was he quite forceful? Was he quite adamant? Was he just expressing them in a very calm manner?
Chair, he was forceful.
He was forceful.
He was forceful, no? That, you know, this issue of private interests coming to play, and that you are, it's like we're ganging up, and the colleagues are ganging up with me to achieve personal interests. No, he was forceful on that, and but of course he could not lay on the table to us and say, these are the reasons why I'm saying this.
Did you get the impression that he had an understanding and an appreciation of the national security risk that you were concerned about?
I think I'm going to say something in the course of my statement, but he seemed to have other interests other than national interest.
Oh, okay. And did he deal pertinently with your reasons that you articulated as to why the three of you believed that the investigation should continue? Did he deal pertinently with your reasons in terms of why you thought it was necessary that the investigation should continue?
He did not, Chairman.
He did not?
No.
Was his main point simply that, in effect, you people can't investigate the president, this will amount to investigating the president?
That is correct, Chair.
Yes. Are you able to remember other points that he put forward to try and say, going on with this investigation is not a good idea? Or
Chair, he did not have something like a rational, argument, and we sat and spoke around that.
Yes.
It was just that you guys, all that you are doing now is to investigate the president effectively.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
As I understand the position in summary, then, Director, the three colleagues, Mike Tuka, yourself, and Mr. Sheikh, were called into a meeting by the Minister Kwele.
That's correct.
At that meeting, the topic of discussion was the investigation into at least the Gupta family.
That is correct.
it was motivated by you in the terms that you've outlined. And do you recall Mr. Sheikh's evidence? Was he correct in relation to his motivation?
It is correct, Chair. This was an ongoing matter that we were looking at. And the manner in which the minister approached us was also a little shocking in the manner that he expressed himself. And on top of that, him not having anything that he could put on the table and say, you people, for these reasons, I want you to stop this, other than, effectively, you are investigating the president.
And that you in particular are pursuing your business interests.
That was, well, that may have been another additional thing that he had to say.
Yes, yes. Okay.
The meeting then involved Minister Cwele raising the issue of the investigation into the Gupta family, your own and your colleagues' own motivation for the investigation, the matters raised in opposition to the investigation by Minister Cwele. Is that a fair summary?
That's correct.
The two matters you refer to are the effective investigation into the conduct of the president, former president, and your alleged conflict of interest.
That's correct.
What was the outcome of the meeting? Did either side budge?
What happened is that we categorically stated to Minister Cwele that we were not convinced that we should stop the investigation and that we would go on with the investigation.
Did he change his mind? Was he persuaded by your representations?
No, he was not.
And we know that subsequent to that there was a meeting with the former president.
That is correct, Chair.
Right, we'll come to that in a moment. But if we may go back to the timeline.
Before that, I think I asked this question earlier on, but I'm not sure that I got a clear answer. Are you able to say Minister Cwele instructed you to stop the investigation, the three of you, or is the position that you are not able to say he instructed you to do so, to stop, but he simply made his position very clear that he thought the investigation should be stopped, he was against it, but you would stop at that and not say he gave an instruction?
I think in effect, had we yielded, in effect, he would have been telling us to stop. We did, but we did not yield. But yes, the effect of what he was saying is that stop the investigation.
So you say he might not have put it in so many words, but as far as you are concerned, that was the effect of what he was saying.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay.
In paragraph 17, you deal with a different set of facts in the timeline that you've set out in your statement. You say you received a call from a longtime friend and comrade, and this was during 2010.
That's correct.
Who was that?
It was Mr. Achi Luhlabo.
Is that L-U-H-L-A-B-O?
That is correct, Chair.
What did he say to you?
He asked that I was driving from the airport, Chair, just arriving on a Sunday afternoon from outside Johannesburg, and he asked that I urgently see him. He was in Sexton. In Sandton. Yes. He was together with Miss Gugu Mchali. Gugu Mchali then, but now she's Gugu Mutlante, Mrs. Mutlante. And that we needed to consult urgently.
Where was this consultation to take place?
It took place at the former president's place, Mklante, residence, private residence.
Around about when was this? What, 2010? Was it 2010?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, and you are unable to give an indication in terms of month, whereabouts?
I am unable to do that now.
But somewhere during 2010, maybe during the first half of 2010, second half?
Maybe first half.
Maybe first half, but you are not sure?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, okay.
When you arrived there, who did you find?
I found Ms. Gugu Nchali and Mr. Luhlabo.
Did you, therefore, after getting this call, did you drive straight away to where he wanted to meet you, Mr. Luhlalo?
Yes, Chair, I did. I drove from the airport to Sandton.
Okay. Did you say you said Mr. Luhlalo was a long-time friend of yours?
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
Who else was there, if anybody?
It was just the three of us finally.
Right. What was the topic of the meeting that ensued?
When I arrived there, they were fuming.
They were?
They were very angry. They were fuming.
Uh-huh.
And
the two of them?
The two of them, yes.
Uh-huh.
They informed me that they had just been to a meeting, and I think after the meeting, they phoned Advocate Notlin, who then said they must call me and talk to me.
Who was he at the time? Is he a DG?
He was DG at DME.
At the Department of Mineral Resources?
Yes, at DMR.
Okay, they had been to a certain meeting. After that meeting, they called Mr. Notlina.
Yes.
Okay, they were now telling you this?
Yes.
Okay, continue.
I called Mr. Notlina and checked with him as to what is this. And he said, please do whatever you can to calm the situation.
Well, maybe take us through the conversation. You come there, you find that there are two people, Mr. Luhlabo and Ms. Mchali at the time.
All right.
You greet, obviously, I'm sure, or maybe you didn't greet if people were too angry, but anyway, you talk. Tell us the conversation leading to your calling Mr. Notlina. Put me in the picture as to what the issues were, why were they angry and all of that.
Chair, if I may, there are certain background facts that are necessary, of which the witness has knowledge.
Yes.
But unless we put those background facts before you, nobody will understand what
this
conversation
I need to
was
hear,
about.
otherwise the story sounds very incomplete and incoherent. I read the statement and I was saying there's a lot that I'm not hearing, you know. It's like it jumps from one to another, and I thought, well, maybe it's because of intelligence issues. But I do want to hear the story as it happens. If another witness will come and confirm what he has said, I think that should be fine.
The director will tell you the story, Chair, but
yes,
the story cannot be understood without reference to some background facts.
No. Those background facts, I'm fine, unless you say those background facts are matters that should not be told here because of intelligence.
They're commercial dealings, which are form the background to what this conversation was all about.
Yes.
So it's necessary to know them. And
yes, no, I want to know them. Yeah, I definitely want to know them.
Okay.
Yes, Director, tell us.
Well, if I may just May I just lead the witness in respect to them? Otherwise, we're going to
Yes, no, that's
confuse
fine.
everybody.
You can lead him, yeah.
Assure you of that, Chair. ArcelorMittal,
Yeah,
the mining company,
that's correct.
had a 21% stake in the Sishen mine. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And its mining rights expired on the 30th of April 2009. Is that correct?
That is correct.
When they expired, two other companies applied for the rights of ArcelorMittal.
That is correct.
The one was the Sishen Iron Ore Company, a subsidiary of Kumba,
Right.
and the other was Imperial Crown Trading,
That is correct.
ICT.
ICT.
The director or a director and shareholder in ICT was the very Ms. Gugu Mchali to whom you've just referred.
And actually Klabu, correct.
Yes. And Mr. Lehlabu.
Klabu, yes.
Right.
I'm sorry. The two were directors in ICT. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, Chair.
Oh, okay.
Correct.
And ICT were obviously seeking to obtain the grant of mining rights that had expired in the hands of ArcelorMittal on the 30th of April 2009.
That is correct.
But in this venture, they were competing with Sishen Iron Ore.
That is correct, Chair.
Is it correct that in November 2009, ICT was awarded these mining rights?
So I was told.
Now we know, well, perhaps we don't know, but there was in fact a dispute about the legalities of the award of mining rights to ICT.
That is correct.
And there was litigation between Sishen on the one hand, Kumba,
Right, correct.
and ICT and the Department of Mineral Resources on the other hand.
That is correct.
That litigation took up some time in the courts.
That is correct, Chair.
Now we know that in March 2010, and please confirm if this is in accordance with your own knowledge, ICT sold a 50% stake to an entity related to the Guptas and to Duduzane Zuma.
That is correct, Chair.
What was that entity?
I do not think I have got the...
Can I remind you, was it DIC? Well, all this evidence can be given separately, Chair, its background.
Yes, but just so that we understand.
Yes. Was that JIC Mining Services?
I think so. That's correct, yes.
Yes, an entity in which the Guptas and Duduzane Zuma had an interest.
That is correct, yes.
And ICT, having acquired the rights that had expired in the hands of ArcelorMittal, now sold a 50% stake in ICT to an entity related to the Guptas and to Duduzane Zuma, correct?
Correct.
Subsequent to that, the litigation resulted in Sishen and Kumba effectively securing those mining rights, but we needn't go into that for the moment.
That is correct.
But your evidence now deals with the surrender by ICT of a 50% stake to the Guptas and Duduzane Zuma. Am I correct?
That is correct, Chair.
That was the dispute that was raised at that meeting in 2010.
That is correct.
You can take it from there.
Okay, let me understand the dispute. There is ICT, there is Kumba, stroke Sishen. I know there was ArcelorMittal as well. And then there is another company entity, DI, that you mentioned?
JIC.
JIC.
Mining Services.
Yes. So just tell me what you were told at this meeting then in connection with these issues that seem to have
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
to have been connected with the anger that you saw.
Yeah, so they are angry. They are very angry. And they say that they were called to Saxon World by Ajay Gupta. And Ajay Gupta told them that he wants 90% of that of ICT.
Of ICT.
Yes.
Yeah.
They must give him 90% of ICT because he is the only person who has the financial muscle and the political backing to get that award granted.
I think it was a prospecting right.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, well, I happen to know because I
You
sat in the
presided.
High Court. in
You
the
presided, yes.
Yeah, yes.
So they wanted 90% of the company. That was the discussion they had earlier with Ajay at his residence.
Yes.
And they phoned Advocate Notlina. And Advocate Notlina, I think, was in London at the time because there was a trip by President Zuma, an official trip to the UK by President Zuma.
Yes.
And Mr. Notlina was in the company of the president on
Yes.
that trip. So they said, Mr. Notlina said that they must call me so that I can assist to talk about this thing.
What role were you to play?
When I had to ask him as to what is it that, because I don't work at DMR, I've got no clue of this, of what's going on here.
Okay, Mr. I'm trying to follow this quite properly because the facts can be quite complicated.
Okay.
So what made Ms. Mchali then and Mr. Luhlabo angry was that Mr. Ajay Gupta had demanded that they should give him or his entity 90% shares in ICT,
Correct, Chair.
which means they would have had to share the remaining 10%. And they were unhappy about that. But more than that, he had said to them, according to what they told you, he had said he was the only one with the financial muscle necessary for this prospecting right, and he was the only one who had the right political backing. Am I putting it correctly?
That's correct, Chair.
And they had then called Mr. Notlina, who was Director General of the Department of Mineral Resources at the time,
Correct.
who happened to be on an overseas trip with former President Zuma.
That is correct. One of the people
And
on the trip.
he had suggested that they should talk to you to discuss the matter.
I am not sure what he said to them.
Yes.
But ultimately, he asked that they must call me and
Yes, yeah. Okay, but at the stage you had this, did you have an idea how you would come in? Why anybody would want you to be called to take part in that discussion?
I asked him. When I phoned, I said, "But what do you expect me to do?"
Yes.
And he said, "Come on, man. I think you are the guy who can assist here." Because at that time I was working for State Security Agency.
Yes.
He said, "I think these guys will listen when you move in, the Guptas." Because the problem was not with these people. The problem was the pressure. He said he was getting to get these people agree that they must surrender their shares to the Guptas.
So, as you understood the position from Mr. Notlina, he himself was getting pressure from the Gupta family. Is that what you are saying?
That is correct, Chair.
He himself was getting pressure.
He said he was getting pressure,
Yes.
and Chair, he was in London as well with the president at that time
Yes,
when these people were phoning.
yes. But
So I'm not sure. I didn't ask if the pressure was not from the
you
president.
didn't ask where the pressure was coming from.
No, I didn't.
But he
ask.
said he was under pressure.
Yes.
Yes, to attend to the issue of to the demand or request made by the Gupta family.
That is correct.
Okay, all right. I think continue then. You had this discussion with Mr. Notlina, and how did it end?
I agreed I sat down with them and I asked them, "So what is your position?" They said, "No, this is now Mchali and Luhlabu. They said, no, we're not going to do that. Yeah, but I said, guys, Sandile is telling me that he is under pressure. What can we do? What can be done? Because I'm here now. Yeah. So finally we agreed that we would go to Saxon World.
Before you go to Saxon World,
Okay.
let's just summarize. There is a factual background which may be put before you in due course, Chair. But the essential fact is that ICT had a prospective interest in mining rights.
In Sishen, correct.
Yes. And that was in Sishen.
Yep.
Right. So they have this, let's call it, for want of a better word, asset or prospective asset in their company.
Correct.
From what you say is the Guptas wanted 90% of that company now, of
That
ICT.
is correct.
And Ms. Mchali and Mr. Luhlabo were angered by this claim.
Correct, Chair.
And there was a dispute, therefore, between the Guptas on the one hand, who wanted a large slice of the ICT cake, and the owners of that cake, Ms. Mchali on the one hand and Luhlabo on the other.
Correct, Chair.
So there's a dispute, and you are asked to assist.
That is correct.
So what did you do pursuant to your, well, it wasn't a mandate, pursuant to the request made to you?
We then agreed that we would go to the Guptas. But the lady, Ms. Mchali, called Ajay on his cell to say that I am coming with Gibson Njenje. Sandile suggested that we come and talk to you. Sandile no cleaner.
So at this stage, did you see your role as mediating between the parties?
That is correct, Chair. That's how I saw my role then.
Okay.
Just one thing, if I may, it's perhaps not too relevant given the facts that you've outlined, but in your statement you say that when you got to the house of former President Motlanthe in Sandton, Mr. Mutino was there.
No.
He wasn't.
No, he was not.
So
He
we
was.
have to
He
correct
was.
your statement insofar as it says.
That's incorrect. He was in London when.
Okay, and
when,
he telephoned.
Yes.
All right. All right, now we're off to Saxonwold, as I understand it.
Correct. Or before.
Take up the story from there, please.
Before going to Saxonwold, Ms. Mchali called Ajay Gupta and told him that they were coming with me to discuss the issue.
Before you go there, let's go back to Mr. Nuklina's suggestion that you should be involved. Do you know why Mr. Nuklina would have picked you out of all people to say you should be involved? And mediate, if mediate is the right word.
We are friends, Chair.
Yes.
We are close friends.
Yes.
And I don't know what made him to think of me when he was in that position.
Yes.
But of course, as I say, he knew that I am working for state security at the time.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe for whatever reason he might have thought that that background might assist.
I think so, Chair.
Yes.
I think that was his rationale.
Okay, so maybe he just knew that you have some skills in mediation. Do you have any experience of mediation?
I can make people talk I can make people get together and talk. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Sheikh was polite, you are modest.
Okay, all right. Yes. So So, as you understood the position when Ms. Mtshali and Mr. Luhlabo explained to you at the meeting, why did Mr. Ajay Gupta make this demand to them? And why did he make a demand for such a high percentage of their company? Or did that not transpire in the discussion, even before you met Mr. Ajay Gupta? Because obviously, to go and mediate, you need to understand the actual dispute and the basis for the dispute, or the grounds for the various positions of the parties.
Chair, I thought it was a very unfair situation in the first place. And I mean, after they explained to me that this is how far we're coming with this situation, their project, this is how far we're coming with this. They were nowhere. We didn't have anything to do with them. We have nothing to do with them even now. But when they come, they establish from wherever that they are the holders of this 21%, and they were just kind of bullying, I think.
As you understood the position, now that you mentioned 21%, I think I seem to recall that whole litigation was about 21%.
That's correct.
Of the prospecting rights. At that time of your being involved in the discussions, ICT had already been granted the prospecting rights.
That is correct.
Oh, so they had been doing a lot of work, and then after they got this, then Mr. Ajay Gupta was saying, I want 90% of that.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay, all right.
As we know from the litigation and the outcome of the litigation, ICT lost those prospecting rights. But that was later.
That was later, yes.
At the time the approach was made by Mr. Gupta, those rights were held by ICT, subject to the claim that was made against them.
That is correct.
And as you understood the position at the time of that meeting, were Ms. Mtshali and Mr. Luhlabo the only directors in ICT?
They said they were not the only directors.
They said they were not.
They were the directors who were in town. I think the other director was in the Northern Cape.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
So, did you then take up your mission as mediator, or?
I did, Chair.
And what did you do?
Ms. Mtshali told me that he called him on the phone, and he said, no, it's fine. They can bring me along. So we went, and they opened the doors and greeted, and we sat there. He was like kind of sizing me up. We were chatting and making jokes. He was making jokes.
Sizing you up like what?
Like looking me up and
the
down.
way he was looking at you.
Yes, I felt like that.
Okay.
So
it was now the three of you plus him?
Plus him, correct, Chair.
Okay.
So I introduced myself. I told him that I'm Gibson Njenje. And,
were you meeting him for the first time?
It was the very first time, Chair.
Okay.
Yes. And he said, no, I know your name. I know where you're working. I said, yeah, okay. And then we started the discussion. I wanted to know, but these guys are complaining that you're taking their company. He said, no, I'm not taking the company. We are going to help them. Otherwise, as they are, they will walk away with nothing. So 10% is better than nothing. And that they are not greedy. The point is, there are just too many on their side who are going to share from that 90%.
Just repeat that. I
say, Chair, he explained to me that the reason why they wanted 90% is not because they are greedy. He is not greedy. he has got many people that he has got to look after in that 90%.
Is that what he said?
That is what he said, Chair.
Before you go on, when he said to you, that this is Mr. Gupta, when he said to you, I know who you are and I know where you work, what did you gather from that? Why did he say that, do you think?
I think I couldn't make out why he was saying so at the time. But at a subsequent, I think, meeting, he then told me why he knows about me.
In any event, what was the outcome of that meeting?
Well, maybe before the outcome, I do want to hear the content of the discussion before up to the outcome.
Well, Chair, the other two, the other party, the two, Ms. Mchali and Luhlabo, they were very adamant that no, this is not going to happen. You can't. I mean, they were raising even political issues that you guys, you're just foreigners here, and you just want to bully us like this. It's not going to happen. And this. So I had to calm them down and say, guys, remember, I was talking to the DG, and I don't know what the DG knows. Let's just see what it is that we can come out with here.
But was the position simply that Mr. Ajay Gupta was simply demanding something from them for which he had no basis, really?
Chair, as I said...
Was that the position?
That is the position, Chair. That was the position.
Was the only basis that he said he has got the financial muscle and he has got political backing?
That is correct, Chair. And as I'm saying, I knew at that time that Sandile is in London and he is with the president.
Yes.
So I wasn't sure whether the pressure is not from that side.
Yes, yes. So you have the situation here where somebody just decides to say, I know your company has got some prospecting rights or mining rights. I want 90% of it. And that's what I want. And there is no basis. It's not like I made any contribution or anything.
I think the other thing, Chair, he was adding to his argument was
Yes.
that he is in touch with ArcelorMittal, I think the chairman of ArcelorMittal, somebody, and they were going to work out some mechanism, some structure that would not make ArcelorMittal to compete again, to go to court and litigate. That would be handled by him and his team. I think that was an additional issue that he was putting in as what they are offering in the matter.
Yes, continue with the discussion. Anything else important in the discussion that was said?
So the discussion went on, and to say no. I think the two fellows were also now starting to concede that, this is going to be difficult. Then I said, guys, what are you offering? I asked them, what are you offering to this person? And they said, no, if anything, they must buy. I said, yeah, you're right. They must buy their share. And the rest can follow whatever it is that they say they can do. But if they want to participate, they must buy. So Ajay said, no, we're not going to do that.
I mean, is the position that Mr. Ajay Gupta was demanding to be given this 90% for free?
No, he said it was not for free, Chair. He said the input that they were going to make was more than that 90%.
But he was not going to pay any cash.
He was not going to put in money now.
So he said he would make an input into how the company would run the business and so on, and negotiations with ArcelorMittal or whatever.
He would
But
make...
he was not going to buy these shares.
No, he was not going to buy the shares, but he was going to make all manner of problems go away because of his influence and because he's got the money, and yes.
So as I understand it, Mr. Gupta in effect demanded 90% of ICT.
That's correct, Chair.
He said that although he would not pay for the shares, he would, through his own influence and financial backing, assist ICT to overcome its problems, and amongst other things, the litigation that was current.
That is correct.
Was the litigation pending at that time, as you understood the position, or was it not there yet, or was it still coming? What was your understanding as at that time?
I don't think the litigation was pending at the time, sorry.
Yes.
I'm not sure now.
Well,
okay.
that can be established.
Yes.
But we know that at the time, ICT enjoyed the 21.4% share, or in the prospecting rights. That claim was challenged.
Can you repeat, please?
At the time, those prospecting rights were held to the extent of 21% by ICT. That claim or interest was under challenge.
Yes.
Right.
Now, did Ms. Njenje and Mr. Luhlabo ask Mr. Gupta on what basis he thought he could just get 90% from them? Or maybe that's something they may have asked in the previous meeting, but didn't ask when you were there.
Chair, they did. And they were not just asking, they were also shouting at him.
They were shouting at him?
Yes.
Yes.
What right do you have? You are just a foreigner, you're coming here, you are coming to grab, and, you know. Yes, that was the type of language that was employed at the time.
But you say at a certain stage of the meeting, they began to warm up to conceding something.
They did, Chair.
Maybe warm up is the wrong word, but they seem to be prepared to make some concession.
They did make concessions, Chair.
Ultimately, what concession did they make?
The final concession was a 50-50.
50-50.
Correct, Chair.
And was he still not going to pay anything for the 50%?
No.
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 Must be quite tough to work for your company, work hard, and then have to just give 50% away. On your understanding, what is it that was making them decide that it was fine, maybe fine is the wrong word, that they should nevertheless give him this 50%? Sure.
I'll have to move then forward into my statement to answer the question.
Oh, okay. Well, if you are able to answer it now, Later
yes.
on you can.
I met Ajay Gupta subsequent to this meeting.
Yes.
I met him at my request. I said I wanted to see him or to
Yes.
talk to him.
Yes.
And when we sat, he told me that, he agreed that I should come to that mediating meeting, to that meeting that I mediated in.
Mm-hmm.
He agreed that I should be the one to come in because after Gugu called him when we were still at Gugu Mchali's house, he checked with the president whether or not I'm the right person. And the president said to him, "That's a good old friend. He'll sort things out. Don't worry."
So effectively, he checked with the president whether you would be the right person to mediate, so to speak, in this dispute.
Correct, Chair.
Yes. But from the point of view of Ms. Mchale and Mr. Luhlabo, I'm sorry. Luhlabo.
Yes.
As at that meeting, what was your understanding of what they thought
I think,
they
Chair,
would lose if they didn't agree to give this man 50% share for free?
Chair, I think at that time, people knew that these were friends of the president.
These were friends of the president?
That is correct, Chair.
Yes. So your understanding would be that they must have thought about what appeared to be closeness to the president that he had.
That is correct, Chair.
And that the way he was insisting, they might end up getting nothing. Maybe they should concede something. Would that be the kind of thinking that you had? I'm just
even the mere,
what you thought.
Even the mere mention, Chair, of that they have got more people.
Yes.
It was suggestive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Pretorius.
During the meeting at Saxonwold, where the demand of Mr. Gupta for an interest in ICT was discussed and dealt with, as you have told the chair, it was dealt with, did the name of the former president come up?
Not at the meeting, not when I was there with Archie and Google.
So in that respect, if you look at the last sentence of paragraph 19, your statement would need to be corrected. Am I correct?
I think that is correct.
The statement in...
Yes, the statement is reflecting here.
Right. Can you recall now the context in which the name of the president was mentioned?
Yes, I can.
Tell the chair, please.
Chair, as I said, he mentioned that they have got the money to do the deal, because the deal is going to be very expensive for anyone who comes into for that 21%, to finance that 21%. Secondly, that they were talking to Kumba, and Kumba knew that they have got this interest. ArcelorMittal, they were in control of, because Arcelor had lost their right. And then that, with the support of the president, they were going to get the deal.
He said this, Mr. Ajay Gupta said this at the meeting which you attended together with Ms. Mchale and Mr. Luhlabo.
That is correct.
Yes. Okay.
You referred a moment ago, Director, to a further meeting with Mr. Ajay Gupta.
Yes.
Was that in 2010?
That's still in 2010, correct.
At whose instance was this meeting arranged?
At my instance.
Why did you do so?
Chair, the issue of the family, as we have testified, was getting the better of us. And
us being?
State Security Agency.
Yes, okay.
And myself as the head of counterintelligence in the country.
This meeting now, which you requested, this would have been round about when? I just want to have a sense of time and year.
Maybe a few weeks after.
Oh, it was still 2010?
Correct.
Okay, all right.
A few weeks after the initial meeting.
Yes, but just to round off that meeting, so an agreement was reached in that meeting in terms of which Ms. Mchale and Mr. Luhlabo agreed to give IJ Gupta or whatever entity he might have used 50% shares of ICT.
That's correct.
Is that right?
That's correct, Chair.
Yes. Do you remember what entity was going to be used, or that was left for later to be sorted out?
No,
That will come later.
he has reminded me, it was called JIC, I think.
Oh, JYC or JIC?
JIC.
JIC, okay, all right. That was the one to be used by Ajay Gupta.
Gupta. Correct, Chair.
Okay. And the meeting ended on that basis, and that was it for that time.
Yes, they were still very angry. And I said,
They were still
guys,
very angry, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And I assume, did you report back to Mr. Njenje?
I did.
Yes.
I told him, I said, hey, you put me on the spot here, and but this is what came out finally.
Yes. Yes. I guess you eased the pressure on him.
Excuse me?
I guess you eased the pressure on him.
Well, he thanked me. He did.
Yes. Okay, all right. So let's go back to this meeting that you requested with Mr. Ajay Gupta a few weeks later.
Yes.
Did you meet?
Correct, we did meet.
Where?
We met at Saxon World.
At the Gupta residence?
At the Gupta residence, yes.
Yes, okay.
And your purpose in requesting the meeting?
Chair, as I said, I was worried as well about the influence of these people on the president of the country, and that was the sole purpose of the meeting. It was to address. I addressed to him our concerns as state security agency. Basically, when he said to me, he helped me as well. When he said to me that he agreed to meet at the initial meeting because the president said, I'm a good old friend. I said, now, you see, you hear the president say, I'm a good old friend. And indeed, I am a good old friend. What is your role in this? Because you guys are putting the president and the governing party in problems. Every day there's bad publicity. There is Tutuzane Zuma mentioned all day long. Why are you not protecting? If you say he's your friend, why are you not protecting your friend? He said, Mr. Gibson, you are right. I have got no issue. I don't go about talking about the president. He is a family friend. He is my friend. I will have to talk to my brother because he's the one who goes about harassing people and this and that. But I will do that. I am so happy that you came and spoke to us.
Do you know which brother he was referring to?
I assumed, Chair, that it was because I've never met him, but I've heard that he is a rough character, who can use colorful language with people.
Who is that?
They say it's Atul.
Atul. Was anything further discussed? I'm sure lots was discussed, but on the theme that you're talking about, was anything further discussed?
Chair, we did not discuss for a long time. I wanted to convey a message and to say that we are worried as state security agency. And he agreed. He readily agreed. He said, no, I understand what you mean.
So you were meeting him in an official capacity as part of what you believed was your job to do?
Yes,
Yeah.
Chair. And so far as I was concerned, I was doing that. And I reported back to my colleagues at the top three that I had made the meeting and I made the points to Mr. Ajay Gupta.
Yes. And what you got from him was that he said he agreed you were right. They should protect the president.
He said so, Chair. He
That's what
agreed.
he said, yeah.
He agreed that
Yes.
it's not good for the president to be receiving bad publicity and all of this.
Okay.
Did he at any stage attempt to justify or explain his family's relationship with the president, the former president?
Similar to what the president says. He says, we have met, my brother has met, the brother who came in first, met Mandela, and met Mbeki, and so they are also meeting Zuma. They met Zuma even when he was in trouble. We did not have any position in government. They still continue to meet. They still continue to look after Duduzane. That was the angle that he was taking.
Did Minister Kwele's name crop up in the conversation?
It did, indeed.
Please tell the chair about that.
Chair, Ajay Gupta then turned and looked at me and said, can you tell me, what is the interest of Mr. Kwele or Dr. Kwele in the family, in his family?
In the Gupta family?
Correct.
Oh, but he was asking you?
He was asking me.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I've got no idea. What do you mean he's got an interest in your family? He then related a story to say that there had been an ANC fundraiser in Durban, which was held at the Hilton Hotel. I could vaguely remember that. And I said, oh, okay. He said at that fundraising dinner, his family bought a table, and ministers were deployed. Different ministers were deployed at different tables. And another minister was deployed at their table. But Kwele came to remove that minister and ask him to go and sit where he was supposed to sit, and him joining the Gupta family. I said to him, no, I don't know. And frankly, I didn't know what it is, what the Minister Kwele was interested in.
You then, in paragraph 21, refer to a meeting between what you refer to as the top three. I take it that's yourself, Mr. Sheikh, and Ambassador Makatuka.
That is how we're called at the farm.
What was the purpose of this meeting?
The purpose of the meeting was to raise our concerns about Minister Kwele with President Zuma.
Was this the meeting to which Mr. Sheikh referred as having occurred immediately after the meeting with Minister Kwele, where he raised his views on the investigation into the Gupta family?
That is correct.
Same meeting?
That is correct.
What do you recollect of that meeting then?
I can remember that President Zuma addressed us on the issue of the relationship between himself and the Gupta family. It was a long narration that he gave of the relationship. But the main characteristics being the same as what Gupta was saying, that they are coming from a good family in India, brought up by a good father, how they took Duduzane and Duduzile into their company, and how they helped them through, and especially at the time that President Zuma, at the time Deputy President, was removed, and how the children were growing out without a mother, and all of those issues. Basically, he was explaining that it was a clean relationship that he was having.
Including how good the Gupta family had been to
his children.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, Chair.
So I understood the evidence of Mr. Sheikh. One of the purposes of this meeting was to raise with the President issues around the investigation into the Gupta family. Am I correct?
That is correct.
And Mr. Sheikh gave lengthy evidence in that regard. Did you at the meeting raise your concerns as the top three in relation to whether or not the investigation into the Gupta family should continue?
I think we started by making our presentation to the President to say that we are coming to raise our concerns as well about that issue.
And what was besides speaking about his relationship with the Gupta family, explaining it and seems justifying it, what was the President's response to the investigation in particular?
I don't think he reacted to the issue of the investigation.
What was your conclusion in relation to whether or not you should continue the investigation after that meeting?
I think he was telling us that these are good people and therefore that maybe we should just leave them.
Was that your conclusion?
That was my conclusion, yes.
And in relation to your relationship, and I'm talking about the top three now, relationship with Minister Cwele, what was the conclusion there as far as the former President was concerned?
I think I had more than one meeting on the issue of the relationship with Dr. Cwele, with the President. And I can recall this one meeting where I thought he was not happy with us raising this thing. And
sorry, you thought he was?
He was not happy with us raising the matter.
That is the President?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is why I suspect that it may have not been the first time we were raising the matter with him. Because at the end of that meeting, the President said, "You are all senior people. Why can't you just sit down and resolve issues?"
Let's move on then, back into the timeline.
I'm sorry, Mr. Pretorius. You did say when we were talking about your meeting with Minister Cwele that the investigation into the Guptas, or the Shiva uranium, into the Guptas, included the question of their influence on the President, their influence. Was Minister Cwele aware that that was part of what you wanted to investigate, what the investigation sought to do?
Yes, he was.
He was?
He was, Chair.
What about the President when you met him? Was he aware of that part as well or not really?
We made him aware, Chair.
You made him aware?
We did make him aware that these are our concerns.
Part of the investigation is to look at the influence of the family on him.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay, all right. And his attitude was there's nothing wrong with the family. They are good people.
That is correct, Chair.
Okay.
And as I understand, finally, your conclusion at least, the other two of the top three can testify to their conclusion, but your conclusion was that you should desist with the investigation.
That is correct, and I must mention that that really had a negative effect on my morale especially, and interest in the work.
You were quite clear that in terms of the national security, there was a risk, and an investigation was necessary in order to deal with that risk, that potential risk. Is that right?
That is correct, Chair.
Yes.
And it was not the first time that we would go, or in my experience, that I would go to a president and say, President, there are these things that intelligence is observing on these issues.
Yes.
And president would say, bring me a report, go investigate and bring me a report.
Yes.
That would be the normal thing, the
Yes.
normal interaction between intelligence and the president.
He would ask for a report.
He would say, please go and do your work and bring me a report
Yes.
on your investigations.
Yes. And on other occasions, he would read the report and say, it's fine.
On many occasions, the president would say, thank you.
Yes, yeah, okay. But on this occasion,
The president, president had a long explanation to give to us.
yes, yes.
And clearly, he was not interested in us in continuing with the investigation.
Yes. I asked you earlier on when we were dealing with the meeting between yourselves and the minister, whether the minister was addressing himself to the pertinent reasons which you gave for saying the investigation should continue. When it comes to the president, did he address himself to the pertinent reasons you advanced for saying the investigation should continue, or did he also not address those?
Other than acknowledging that I know that this is your job, but this is the real story.
Yes.
He
So-
acknowledged, but he didn't say, guys, please go ahead and continue with the investigation.
And he didn't say anything like you are wrong on your assessment of the security aspects that influence your decision. It was simply, there's nothing wrong with his family.
It was simply that, Chair, that
Yes.
there's nothing wrong with the family. They are good people.
Yes.
He didn't say,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
The fact of the matter is, however, as I understand your evidence, that you did desist from the investigation.
Yes, we did, Chair.
If we may go back to
Before
the-
that, you were explaining earlier on, and I don't know whether I interrupted you, what the effect was of this reality that you were facing, that the investigation had to stop on your morale and everything and whatever else. Had you finished addressing that, or was there something else?
Yeah, no, I didn't
How
finish,
did
Chair.
you view this situation, this development?
Chair, it was draining on us. We had a difficult situation of having to run a new organization, try and run it to a better thing than it was, that what we inherited. Try and get people to do the right things and all of that. But then, especially as a result of the relationship with the minister, I think you'd feel like dragging your feet when you're going to work. And I think the last straw was when the president was also not siding, or at least addressing issues with us and say, guys, these are the things and this is how we're going to deal with them. He says, you are senior people, all of you, why can't you just go sit down and resolve? So that really had a negative impact on us, and especially myself.
What did you understand to have been your options faced with this situation, if there were any options for you to deal with this situation? Was there an option of pursuing the investigation despite what the president said? Was that not an option? Or what was the position?
The position, Chair, was that we were being blocked from doing our work, and indeed one being not sure whether to come back to work or not. I was one of the guys that, and I was thinking that I was reading the situation well. I think I was reading the minister well, that, you know, when a minister starts behaving in this way, I suspect that our welcome may just be over here. And we kept trying to get through to the president. And I was like, I don't think the president wants to see us, guys. And finally, the president really didn't want to see us.
Well, the last sentence you say as if something happened that makes you feel sure that he didn't want to see you.
No, we're not getting appointments, Chair.
Oh, you asked for appointments and
we're not getting appointments.
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes. Thank you.
In his position as the executive officer accountable for intelligence, would you expect to have general access to the former president?
And that is correct, Chair.
And if he doesn't meet with you, what does that mean for the working relationship?
I think in general, in intelligence, when that happens, it means the relationship is not good or it is not there.
Were there proper grounds for the president to say don't continue with the investigation as far as you were concerned?
There were no proper grounds, Chair, insofar as we're concerned.
Yes. You have had time to reflect on the events of that day, and you may have the benefit of hindsight. Are you able to say what your analysis suggests was why the president said continuing the investigation was a bad idea, was not a good idea?
Chair, I have had a lot of time to ponder and worry about these issues, and especially about the president. I have even tried, even when I was out, tried to make contact so we can meet and I get a better understanding as to what is going on. I mean, even when I was out, and he knew that I was out of the system, he's never granted me that opportunity to go and sit and talk to him. Other than that, there were better influencers than us. I cannot make any further call.
If you had been allowed to continue with the investigation, including the investigation on the influence that the Gupta family had on him, and assume that the investigation had revealed that the Gupta family had a very strong but bad influence on him, what are the kinds of recommendations or steps that could possibly have been recommended by yourself or taken by yourselves which might have dealt with that situation?
Chair, we did look at those issues and said, but what else can we do? If the president doesn't listen to us, where else can we go? I can tell you that we've been to your standing committee on intelligence, Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence, made presentations and said these are the issues. Beyond that, and of course we knew of the limitations that they also had because they are backbenchers in the main. But yeah, we could not think of anything else. But as Ambassador Sheikh was saying, maybe which is not which we did not want to do, is to whistleblow, and we didn't want to do that.
So you have been to the Standing Committee on Intelligence and brought issues that were of concern to you before them, that related to the Guptas and their influence on the president. Is that right?
That is correct, Chair.
Yes. But other than that, you are not sure what you might have done if you had continued with the investigation and found that the Gupta family had a very strong but bad influence on the president. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying so, Chair.
Yes, but I guess you would have prepared a report that would probably have been given to the president himself and maybe the Standing Committee on Intelligence as well.
I don't think it would have been able to continue.
Sorry?
I do not think that would have been able to continue with the investigation, Chair, because all the work that we do, we're regulated that all our operations must be reportable operations. And if the president has indicated, discouraged us from continuing with the investigation, we did not have any ground to stand on.
Well, let's assume the president had allowed you to proceed, to continue with the investigation. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if he had said, no, that's fine, continue, investigate,
Okay.
and the investigation had revealed that the Gupta family had a very strong influence on him, but that influence was bad for him and for the country and maybe for the ruling party. What would you have done with that outcome?
Would have presented it to the president.
Yes. And to the Standing Committee maybe as well, or on Intelligence Parliamentary Committee or not?
I think it would depend.
It would have depended.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But the president would be our ultimate client.
Yes. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Chair, I see it's 4 o'clock. I have an important meeting at 4:30. I could perhaps go to 4:15. I could attempt to postpone the meeting to 5 o'clock because we're almost finished, but I do have some way to go.
I'm quite happy that we try and finish from my side. If you can postpone the meeting, then Director Njenje, would that be fine with you if we continue and try and finish?
That's fine. That's fine, Chair.
Yes. Okay.
One of the matters that is of interest, perhaps more than interest, to the Commission Director is the question of parliamentary oversight over various bodies in our body politic. What role does the Joint Standing Committee on Intelligence play in respect of the operations of intelligence? You say you took the matter to the Joint Standing Committee. What was its role? What is its role?
Maybe the caucus in the GSCI are the people we went to see.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
The caucus is?
The ruling party's caucus.
The ruling party's caucus in Parliament.
That's correct.
Not the
multi-party. Not the joint.
I understand, and that's the body to which you referred this matter.
That is the body that we referred the matter to for them to try and exert their own pressure.
But no change resulted.
Nothing happened.
Let me try and understand that. I thought you said you took your issues of concern to the Standing Parliamentary Committee on Intelligence, Did I misunderstand that?
Chair, I misrepresented the fact.
Okay.
The fact is, we took it to the chairperson, who is a member of the ruling party, who is the chair of the joint standing committee.
Oh, you took it to him?
To the chair, specifically, yes.
But what was the idea? Was the idea that you were approaching him as chairperson of that committee, the standing committee, so that he could then see whether to place the issues before the standing committee, or were you approaching him on the basis of his other capacity, maybe within the ruling party?
As chair of the standing committee, we're approaching him to say...
You're approaching him as chairperson of the standing committee.
Yes, to say that we've got these issues.
Yes, yes.
And of course,
Yes.
if we could take them, and I think our interest was more for him to represent us, to minister and the president.
Yes. Oh, at that level, what you had in mind is not necessarily that you would take it to the committee,
No.
but that you could talk to the minister, Minister Kwele, and talk to the president.
Correct.
And
That's
who was,
correct.
yes?
It was Dr. Burgess.
Badges.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, thank you. But maybe let's finalize. You put these issues to him. Did he promise anything, to do anything about them? Or did he tell you there's nothing I can do, or what happened?
No, he took the matters and said he was going to, he would see how to handle them.
Yes.
That's correct.
But did he come back to you to tell you how far he had been able to go with the issues?
I don't think so, Chair.
You don't think so?
No.
Okay.
Director, let's move on then to paragraph 22 of your statement and go back to the issue of the principal agency network investigation, principal agents network investigation. You said that investigation involved Mr. Arthur Fraser. You spoke about certain suspensions, but that investigation, I understand, was ongoing.
That is correct, Chair.
And by 2011, what progress had been made?
Significant progress had been made. I think we covered almost everything that needed to be done.
And as a result of that stage being reached, did you approach law enforcement agencies?
That is correct.
What did you do?
We approached the SIU and the NPA, and we sat and had a consultation over the information, the dossier that we had prepared. And they were happy to receive it, and we agreed that we were then handing over the investigation, and they were going to prepare for prosecution.
Was the documentation pertaining to your investigation then handed over or not?
It was handed over, correct.
To whom?
It was handed over to the SIU.
And what was the state of play as far as you were concerned in regard to whether a prosecution could proceed or not?
It was clear, Chair, that prosecution was now possible.
Was going to proceed?
They were going to proceed. They were just going to fill up some gaps, and then they were going to proceed.
Okay.
Did you then receive a call at around this time from Minister Kwele?
Maybe before that, that was the PEN program investigation, is that right?
That is correct, Chair.
Yeah. Are you able to say what types of crimes the investigation had revealed may have been committed? Or are you not able to say?
There were various
Fraud,
fraud included,
yeah, corruption.
and corruption.
Yes, those were some of the crimes that
That is correct.
were unearthed by the investigation.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
And if you could give the chair some idea of the gravity of the offences that had been alleged?
There were houses that were bought, properties, and bought with a ulterior motives, and other properties ending up with individuals. There were people who were employed who should, without any security clearances. Hundreds of cars that were bought and parked, about 300 cars. Computers, laptops, and that were just bought and stacked away.
And maybe I missed this earlier on. On your understanding, what was this PEN program about? What was its objective? What was sought to be achieved through it?
As I was trying to understand, Chair, this structure was supposed to be an extension of the official structures
Of intelligence.
Yeah. Especially National Intelligence Agency, the domestic branch.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And the cars that you say had been bought would have been parked somewhere, or were just given to people?
They were parked in warehouses, Chair.
They were in warehouses?
Different warehouses.
Yes.
Around Gauteng.
Yes. And this was, the funds used were from the official intelligence structures.
That is correct, Chair. They were funds that were taken from operating structures.
Yes.
And therefore starving those operating structures with
Yes.
funds and,
Yes.
and spending out there for this.
Yes.
Yes.
I understand that there were in excess of 700 cars that were so bought. Is that correct?
300.
300.
Yes, from the PEN program.
At the time of the conclusion of that investigation, was your understanding that there were a lot of people who were using some of those cars?
Not a lot, Chair.
Yeah.
But there were some people who were using some of the cars and properties.
And properties.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier on, I think, the figure of 300 cars. Mr. Pretorius mentioned 700 cars. What kind of numbers do you recall?
300, Chair.
300?
Yes.
And in terms of houses, are you able to recall any number or properties?
I cannot recall offhand, Chair, but it was quite a number of properties.
A substantial number?
A substantial number, yes.
Yeah, around Gauteng or all over the country?
Around Gauteng, especially.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and these would have been registered under the name of what? Under whose name?
Some people's names.
Or
Some people were used. Some people were used. Others are
people
children.
as opposed to legal entities. So it would be individuals, or not the official structure, and not PEN.
Not the official structure, Chair. It was what it was called the Covert Support Unit.
Yes.
Which was used. In
Yes.
some cases they were used. In
Yes.
some cases, private individuals were used.
Yes. Okay, all right. Thank you. So a lot of money had gone into the buying of those cars and houses. Are you able to give an estimate of how much money, taxpayers' money, had been used on
We-
this program by the time you handed over the files to the NPA to prosecute?
We're estimating about 600 million rand.
About 600 million rand.
Yes,
that was
correct.
the estimate.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
There will be further evidence on the detail, Chair, but the point
Yes.
is that this evidence is what is to come now.
Yes, okay.
Did you get a call from Minister Twele at around this time? At the time of the conclusion of the investigation?
That is correct.
Tell the Chair about that, please.
I received a call that, from Dr. Twele that I need to meet with him at Oliver Tambo International Airport.
Was this after you had handed over the files to the NPA for prosecution or before?
Correct, Chair.
After?
After.
Okay, all right.
And I went up to Oliver Tambo and met the minister at the government lounges there. And he told me that we needed to stop the investigation, the investigation and prosecution of Mr. Fraser and others of the PEN program. I wanted to know why. He said, no, it's like we need to stop it and this and that. But I said, Minister, and I was shocked. I said, but after we started this thing in 2009, now it's in 2011, and you're saying, and we've spent so much of our time, our energy, and of course, government money. Yeah, no, we cannot continue with the project.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. And I said, but you need to tell me why we cannot. He said, no, it's the president's decision. President's decision
You said it was the president's decision
it's the president's decision
that it should not be continued
that
with.
we stop. Correct, Chair. I said, but why? He said the president thinks that this is going to compromise national security if we go ahead and prosecute. This is going to compromise national security. I said, no, Minister, we're dealing with criminality here, not national security.
I'm sorry. Okay, all right. Yes, continue. He said the president had said that pursuing the investigation would compromise national security.
That is correct.
Yes, and what did you say in response?
I said, no, but these we are dealing with straight criminality. There's no national security issue here. He was adamant that it's the president's decision. I should just see to it that SIU and everyone else do not proceed with their actions.
So, but you say by the time he spoke to you, you had handed over the files to the NPA?
That's correct.
Yes. And did you tell him it was out of your hands by then, or
No, he
anything
knew.
to that effect?
He knew, Chairman.
He knew that you had handed this over?
That's correct. We're briefing him about all the steps.
Yes,
up to the point when we handed over, he said, the thing is now out of our hands.
After all, he was the one who had asked you to investigate this program, isn't it?
That's true. That's true, Sir Chair.
And therefore, well, quite apart from the fact that he had asked you to investigate it, you kept him informed throughout the investigation,
That's
how far the investigation was going.
That is correct.
And you told him you were about to hand over to the NPA, and then you handed over. And
Correct.
Then he came and said, stop.
That's correct, Chair.
So did you think that the decision that did you think that what he told you, namely that the president had made the decision that this investigation mustn't continue, must have been right, because all along he wanted the investigation to happen himself?
That's correct.
That's what you thought. That is what you thought, that he must have been right, that it was somebody else who made the decision, not him, because all along he wanted you to investigate.
That is correct, Chair.
Yes, okay.
Did you then report back to your investigators who had been involved in this investigation?
Yes, I did. I went back to the team, I called them in, and I told them that, fellows, we have an instruction to seize this and call this thing off. We've got to go and inform whoever our partners are, that SIU and NPA, that we have an instruction.
Was this an easy task?
Certainly not. It was not an easy task. Chair, people had worked for months, long hours, painstakingly, and at times there was even risk to their lives when they were busy performing.
In paragraph 24 of your statement, Director, you talk of an intelligence operation involving relations between Pretoria and Kigali and the Caribbeans. It's not necessary to go into the details there, but at a stage were you summoned to Cape Town to report on this matter, or matters related to this?
Let me just finish on the other one, Mr. Pretorius, before we move on to that one. So, but didn't you tell Minister Kwele in regard to the PEN program investigation that, well, Minister, maybe if you had told me before we handed the files over to the NPA, I would stop the investigation. But it is with the NPA now. The files are with the NPA, the dockets. Only the NPA can decide whether to prosecute or not to prosecute. We are done with the investigation. We have handed over everything. There's nothing we can do. Didn't you tell him that?
Maybe I did not use the same words, Chair, but I said that so much has gone into this here, and we have submitted. It's now with the NPA. He said, well, it's the president's instruction, it's not my instruction. It's the president who says that this is going to cause problems for national security if this goes on.
But what I'm looking at is whether your answer shouldn't have been, I have no power to tell the NPA not to prosecute if they believe that the material we have handed over to them is enough for them to prosecute.
I'm not sure what he was going to say, Chair. If he was not going to say, you gave those people the documents, go get them.
No, but I'm just thinking, you are not going to agree to do something you have got no power to do, isn't it?
That's correct.
So all you would be telling him is the reality or the fact that you have power on the investigation while the investigation is not complete.
Correct.
Once we have handed over the files, it's up to the NPA to decide. Or am I mistaken on your power?
Well, Chair, as I say, I had these advocates as well advising me, that the investigators, when I told them that this is the situation and that the president has decided that we call this thing off, everyone was gobsmacked. But they went out and got the documentation back from the NPA, and they brought it back.
And the NPA then did not prosecute?
No prosecution.
Yes.
No.
And they too were told that it's because the president has decided that there should be no further investigation or prosecution in this matter.
I told my team. I'm not sure what they said when they went to interact.
That's what you told your team.
I told them.
Okay.
Yes.
So you were not the one who would interact with the NPA. It
No.
was somebody within your team.
It was somebody in the team.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay. But your understanding would be that he probably would have relayed what you relate to him and others.
And that's correct.
Yes. Okay. Well, maybe I should just say it would be good if we were to get the case numbers and whatever relating to this
We will deal with
particular matter. Yeah.
You did say that the documentation was handed to the SIU.
Correct? I did say. Chair.
Sorry. And you said, to whom was the documentation handed?
To the SIU.
To the SIU.
Correct.
And the NPA or only the SIU?
The SIU,
SIU
the SIU was going
being
to,
part of.
yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
because Chair, at that time they were looking at seizures.
Right.
Okay.
It's not necessary to go into the detail of your investigations into the relationship with Kigali, between Pretoria and Kigali and the Caribbean, those issues. But as I understand it, you were summoned to Cape Town by the Minister to report on related matters in a meeting with the President.
That's correct.
Did that meeting ever happen?
It never happened.
What did you conclude from the fact that you were summoned to report on a matter, but the meeting never happened?
I thought, I just need to refresh
Sure.
my memory.
It's in paragraph 24,
24.
middle of the page.
Yes. When the meeting with the President was not materializing, I said to Minister that maybe I should return to Pretoria, because I'd stayed there for about 2 days, and I was the DG for domestic branch, and I've got work to do. He then told me in a meeting, we're sitting there.
Oh, your mic?
Sorry. He told me that he had recommended to the President that he appoints me as ambassador for South Africa in Rwanda. I responded to the minister. I said to the minister that that I never came here to become to be told that I should be an ambassador. I came here because I was asked to come in here. And now you're telling me that you have recommended. I cannot understand that. And then I left. I returned to Pretoria after that short meeting.
Were you then called to the office of the Minister a few days later?
That is correct.
And what happened at that meeting?
At the meeting, the minister asked if I had considered the recommendation that he was going to make to the President. By that time, I had already prepared my resignation letter when I went to see him.
Round about when was this? 2012?
This is about September or so in 2011.
2011.
That's correct.
Yes.
So, this was November 2011. I told him that he is no Minister of Foreign Affairs, and in any event, those appointments are presidential
Appointments.
It's not his job. His job is intelligence. He should be focusing on building intelligence. I gave him the resignation letter to say that I had not come here to ask for a job. He approached me, didn't approach me to become an ambassador, he approached me to become head of intelligence here for domestic branch.
Well, before Mr. Petros moves on, I just don't want to forget this part. I'm taking you back to what the minister told you, I think you said at the airport about the PEN program investigation. He said it was the president's decision that the investigation should not be pursued because something along the lines that it was a threat to national security or because of national security. Is that right?
That's what he said, yes.
Now, did he disclose to you any details on national security, bearing in mind that from your very position, as I understand it, you deal with issues of national security, and therefore I would expect that he could feel free to tell you what that was about?
He did not, and I think he could not, because he knew that I would know what is national security.
Yes.
Actually, the very breach itself that we were in was national security compromised.
Yes.
That where people just spend money as they were doing.
Yes. So, in your job in intelligence, you dealt with issues of national security. If there was anything in the investigation that you were doing which could pose a threat to national security, you would have picked it up, or your team would have picked it up.
That's correct, sir.
Yes.
That's correct, Chair.
Okay. So you are able to say, as far as you are concerned, it's highly unlikely that there was any issue of national security that was raised by the investigation, or are you not able to say? Okay, let me
There
repeat that.
there was no issue of national security.
Yes.
There was no such consideration.
And is there no possibility that the president, being president, he might know that there are some national security issues that even the intelligence want to know about?
He is advised by us on
Yes.
national security issues. The
Yes.
president gets his advice from us. We are his experts on national
You are
security.
the ones who look what is threatening national security, and then you advise him.
That is correct.
And here you are able to say there was no issue of national security.
None whatsoever, Chair. Maybe I can just add here to say that about 3 years thereafter, Mr. Fraser was appointed now the DG of SSA by President Zuma.
I'm sorry, who was appointed?
Mr. Arthur Fraser, the one that
Yes.
he was appointed some 3 years later.
Yes.
Yes, by President Zuma.
Yes. And okay, all right. Thank you.
Two matters, Chair, and very close to the line, but if I may deal with them before we adjourn. In paragraph 26,
Well, we said 5 o'clock, we're at 4:30, or has something changed?
No, I hope that in the next 20 minutes.
Oh, okay, no, that's fine.
Yes, otherwise
No.
I inconvenience
No,
the whole.
I was thinking maybe we are not on the same page. I was thinking maybe you are thinking about finishing at 4:30.
Yes, so what I'm saying is I hope that in the next 20 minutes
Yeah,
I can finish
okay.
the next two issues.
Yeah.
And I'll try my best, Chair. In paragraph 26, you relate an incident that occurred in 2011, which incident began at the Cabinet Lekgotla. What happened?
Before lunch at Cabinet Lekgotla, which was held at Brantirian Estate, Advocate Notlina walked up to me. We were walking out together for lunch.
That's Nogxina.
That's correct. He told me that his minister, Minister Shabangu, Susan Shabangu, was going to meet with the Guptas, and both were feeling uncomfortable. They were going to meet Ajay Gupta, and they were going to meet him at the Sheraton Hotel, which is not far from where we were. He asked if I would want to join. I said, I've got no problem. He said, because we want you to kind of come and block us, to block these guys off us.
I'm sorry, just repeat that.
I said, he asked me to accompany, asked if I had a problem to accompany him and his minister, so that I could provide some security.
You were meeting with Ajay Gupta?
Ajay Gupta, correct.
Yes, at the Sheraton Hotel.
At the Sheraton Hotel.
Yeah, and what was your response?
I said, I've got no issue. If your minister agrees, I'll come along.
Oh, but did you say something about what Mr. Njenje said?
He was scared.
What role you would play?
Yes, they had been under some pressure, him and the minister from the Guptas, and he wanted me to come in so that I could minimize that bullying.
Oh, so other people were under pressure again. Yeah, right. So you agreed. If the minister agrees.
If his minister agrees, I'll accompany them. So after eating, we saw the minister walk. The minister agreed, because when we were dishing out, we spoke to her. She said, no, she's happy that I must come.
Sorry, just before you go on, Director, I don't know, I might have missed it, but did Mr. Njenje tell you what the concerns of Minister Shabangu were?
Yes, he said something like, these guys are pressurizing, they're pushing for something, I think there were some rights that they wanted.
Some rights?
Mineral rights.
Mineral rights.
Correct, sir.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
These guys being?
There's Ajay Gupta.
Yes. Okay. So you then, you were saying you saw the minister.
So the minister talk, whispering something in the president's ear, was still sitting at the table, and spoke for a short while, and she came over. And when she came over, she said, you guys don't know. We're not meeting at Sheraton. So suddenly I asked, so where are we meeting? No, we're meeting at the president's place at Mahlambanlovu. The president knows that the guy is waiting for us. Ajay Gupta is waiting for her there at Mahlambanlovu.
So she said the meeting was going to take place at the president's official residence, Mahlambanlovu.
That is what the president told her. When she went to inform the president that she has got a meeting, she was requesting for leave to attend a meeting. The president said, I know about the meeting. And then he further told her that actually the meeting is at Mahlambanlovu.
So she heard from the president that the venue is Mahlambanlovu, not the Sheraton Hotel.
That's correct.
Okay. So she was telling, that is the minister was telling you and Mr. Njenje.
That is correct.
Yes, okay.
Yes. So we walked. There was no need for us to get a car now to Sheraton. We walked to Mahlambanlovu, which is just around the corner.
Yes.
When we got there, the door was opened, and came Ajay in the passage to...
So you were received by Mr. Ajay Gupta?
Correct.
At the official residence of the president?
That is correct. And he led us to the president's study.
To the president's study?
That is correct. And that is where the meeting was held.
Before you go on, was there any representative of the president that ushered you into the study? Who ushered you into the study?
It was Mr. Ajay Gupta.
Was he with anybody Was he in the company of anybody as he received you at the president's official residence and took you to the study, or was he all by himself?
The person who opened the door is the...
Was Mr. Ajay Gupta?
No, is the butler, is somebody who's staying at the president's.
Yes.
Ajay came and fetched us to the study.
Yes.
There was nobody else.
There was nobody else?
No.
Okay. Yes.
What happened at the meeting in the study?
The meeting started, and Ajay started to make these demands that, Minister, I've been waiting on these things, and and he was changing his voice. Was like talking down on the minister. This is what I said I need, and I don't know why things are taking so long for you guys to do, and this. So I felt like, no, man.
What was the sitting arrangement in? This was the president's study.
That's correct.
Were you sitting on couches?
We sat on the couches. At least no one sat on the president's chair. I say chair, at least no one sat on the president's chair.
No one sat on the president's chair?
No, we sat on the couches.
Okay, yes. Okay, so he started speaking, and you say he was speaking down on the minister? He was.
Yeah. And I interjected. I said, Ajay.
Did you understand the subject of the discussion? What was it? The mineral rights? What mineral rights? Where?
I did not follow the subject of discussion, Chair.
Yes.
I was just watching what was going to go on, and of course, when he was talking down on the minister, I interjected. I said, Ajay, this is a government. This is a government minister. She represents the people of South Africa. I think you should have a way of addressing yourself. So I'm sorry, sir. But then continued to nag, and the minister said, we have got to rush back to the Lekgotla. We'll get back to you.
So the meeting did not last long?
It did not last long, Chair. And
what was the response of the minister and Mr. Notlina to whatever he had to say?
Notlina said that there are processes, and minister cannot take shortcuts. And minister said, we'll get back to you when we've done our work properly.
But he was saying he did not understand why whatever he wanted was taking long.
He felt like things were taking long, and he wanted them to be done immediately.
Yes. So that looks like Mr. Notlina knew that you would be needed in that meeting. Yes, Mr. Pretorius.
Yes. In summary, it appears that in the President's study, and with the knowledge of the President, according to your evidence, at least with the knowledge of the President that you were at his residence, Mr. Gupta was demanding certain concessions, at least, from Minister Shabangu.
That's correct.
Relating to mineral rights?
That is correct, Chair.
Did you get to understand why the meeting was held at the President's residence when the President was not there? Well, I don't know whether there was something special about holding it in the study as well. I'm sure the President has got some meeting rooms and so on.
I think, Chair, it was a manner of showing how powerful they are. Showing to a minister of government that she can be called into the President's study without, in the absence of the President.
Thank you, Chair. We should just place on record that the PAN investigation was later resuscitated.
That is correct.
And you were involved to an extent in that.
That is correct, Chair.
Yes, I don't want to go into any detail at the moment because that must be the subject matter of a supplementary statement because it implicates others to whom notices have not been issued. But I take it you will assist us in the future if necessary.
That is correct.
One more topic, please.
Well, what I can ask is, when was it resuscitated?
In 2018,
In 2018.
correct.
Mid-year, towards the end of the year? Are you able to say?
It was started around, I think, mid-year. Actually, it was also part of the high-level review panel that was led by Dr. Mufamadi. But State Security also they resuscitated
Yes.
that which was closed.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Just briefly, Mr. Njenje, can we deal with another topic? From 1979 to 1994, you say that you worked for the ANC intelligence operation.
That is correct, sir.
Information relevant to the work of intelligence in the ANC, in your capacity as an operative, would that have come to your knowledge?
Please repeat the question.
Information relating to the operations of the ANC, would you have received knowledge of that in your capacity as an operative during that period?
Yes, especially, Chair, when I became the deputy of Dr. Sizakele Sitlashe, who was the head of information and processing of the ANC.
Information regarding threats to the ANC intelligence operation, and in particular infiltrators or enemy agents, for want of a better phrase, would that have been within your scope of knowledge?
That is correct, sir.
Knowledge of these threats, both to personnel in the ANC as a result of infiltration, and knowledge of infiltrators and information about infiltrators, would that knowledge have been confined to the former president?
No.
Did you ever come to learn of a plot or conspiracy by 3 intelligence agencies, including a South African one, and this is prior to 1995, that targeted the former president?
No.
Had such a operation or plot existed, would you, in the course of your duties, have expected to come to learn of it?
I think so, yes.
Your relationship with the former president at the time personnel returned from exile and took up activities in South Africa, what was your relationship with the former president?
It was a good relationship, Chair. I started to know the president closely from about 1980, and in 1990, when the ANC decided on a team to come and check if there was good chances for a negotiated settlement, I was part of the 3 that the ANC sent to the country. We were led by Jacob Zuma, and the 2 accessories was myself and Penol Maduna.
Did your work, I think you've mentioned it, involve the provision of security to the ANC leadership?
That's correct.
Including former President Zuma?
That's correct.
Knowledge of any threats to the leadership, was that essential to your work?
It was.
Had President Zuma received information about threats, what was his duty in relation to you and your tasks?
He would have had to inform us that there was a threat to his life, and we would then take countermeasures to assist.
Did he ever inform you of that?
No, not that I can remember.
Was there any reason at the time that he would not have told you of any threats?
There's no reason.
Thank you, Chair. That's,
Thank you very much, Director Njenje. We appreciate the fact that you came to give evidence, to share what you know with the Commission. We appreciate it very much. As I said to Mr. Sheikh, I hope that your decision to come forward and help the Commission and share what you know with the nation will inspire other current and former Directors General, Deputy Directors General, and other senior officials and ministers to come forward who have knowledge of various matters that may be important to be placed before the Commission. I appreciate that you came. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
You are excused.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Pretorius, you had the third witness lined up. Yes.
as discussed in Chambers, Chair, he will not be giving evidence, at least this week, but I will discuss it with you perhaps tomorrow or the following day. There are certain administrative matters that must be attended to.
Okay, so, but he will be testifying in due course.
In due course, he will testify, certainly, Chair.
Okay.
The only question is when these, for want of a better words, I'm using a euphemism with a big E, the administrative matters can be attended to, but I'll inform you of it later.
Okay, no,
Thank
that's
you, Chair.
fine. All right, we are going to adjourn then for the day. Tomorrow I'll hear evidence from an expert who will give evidence, Mr. Chabi, concerning certain actuarial and financial matters relating to Transnet, about transactions that happened at Transnet, about which I've been told. So he will give evidence tomorrow. But as for today, we'll adjourn now. We adjourn.
Thank you, Chair.